Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Community Preservation Committee's meeting. We are doing a hybrid meeting, July 19th, 2023, 7:30 p.m. With us tonight, and we'll go around the table. David, you want to start and introduce yourself around the table?
Dave Spina.
Scott Thomas.
Chris Pratt.
Jean Reed.
David Williams.
Sabrina Fuller.
Coordinator extraordinaire. Okay, so welcome. We are is there anyone here for public comment?
I'm not here to support the Delhill document.
Okay,
Right. So
and that's
I can
as we-
defer until that.
and as we just discussed at the last meeting, we're looking for that support. So thank you for coming. Appreciate that. Okay. And our new business. Or is there any online public comment?
Anybody want to do a public comment?
No, we got Marissa down as a regular thing, so
Yeah.
she doesn't need to talk. Okay, so new business, we're gonna review the draft of chapter 61 protocol. Review and discuss chapter 61 protocol proposed with Marissa Cook-Obregon. Welcome, Marissa.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks so much. Marissa Cook-Obregon, 126 South Loomis Street, here tonight on behalf of the Agricultural Commission. Thank you so much for having me on the agenda. I'm here because I would like to review the Chapter 61 protocol draft that I've developed. And first, an acknowledgement, because this draft, there was a previous iteration of it several years ago. And at that time, it was Dennis Clark and then Chair of Conservation, Chris Pratt, who developed it, and it did not manage to get through the select board at that time. So it was not implemented. So I just want to give that acknowledgement, seeing that Chris is there tonight, and say thank you for giving me that foundation, because it made it a lot easier to then build on what you already had developed with Dennis, and then kind of update it accordingly. So the idea, just the quick pitch, the Chapter 61 right of first refusal, the way that it works is that it's something that is part of Massachusetts general law. And communities that participate in this Chapter 61 program, that breaks down into Chapter 61, Chapter 61A, and Chapter 61B. Properties that opt for, that qualify for those different chapters get a reduced tax rate, which benefits the landowner. In return, they keep the land in one of those different categories of either agriculture, forestry, or recreation. And if and when the landowner decides to either change the usage of their land from one of those categories, or they decide to sell it, another caveat of being part of this program and getting the reduced tax rate is that the town of Southwick, in this case, would have the right of first refusal. So this is something that's already part of state law. The reason I drafted a protocol is because, as a member of a couple of committees that were privy to the right of first refusal, we would end up hearing, and this is in my experience, we would end up getting news about properties that sometimes were very intriguing to us as possible properties that we would want to conserve and spend time looking into for either conservation purposes, agricultural purposes, sometimes mixed use with agriculture and recreation. And there's timeframes to these scenarios. So 120 days would be the scenario that the town is given for folks on the town hall side to decide whether they want to exercise that right of first refusal. And we ended up sometimes hearing about it, for instance, on the Agricultural Commission, 60 days in. So that's already halfway into the timeline. And it became clear that, we needed to kind of just make sure that we were all doing our due diligence on the town hall side and informing the parties that do have say in this, according to Massachusetts state law, that they would have the right information and be able to either let the select board know, yes, we are interested in it, or no. And it's not just for the benefit of those boards. This is as much for the benefit of landowners who are subject to waiting for this 120-day period if they're selling. Because if there is no interest on the town hall side, on any of those boards to proceed with developing a bona fide purchase and sale agreement, then that kind of frees the landowner to go on and pursue different options and sell to somebody else. So it's as much for our benefit and having kind of that inter-board, inter-commission communication down with each other as it is for the landowner, because if we can't, summon the interest or the monies to proceed with purchasing it, then, by all means, the landlord or the landowner should be able to then pursue other options. So Sabrina was, I sent her the most recent version of the draft last week, so I don't know if the committee has had a chance to review it. Any questions? And your committee is one of the ones that is pretty important in terms of kind of understanding if this protocol were to pass, because you'd be the funding entity that a lot of these boards would go to first to see if purchasing a property is at all viable. So I want to make sure I'm going around to all the boards, and then, so the timeline is going around to all the boards that kind of have decision-making power in terms of whether they'd like to explore pursuing this or not, and then going to the select board, because the select board ultimately would then kind of have to, according to the Massachusetts general laws, they'd have to then organize an additional hearing to kind of ascertain how much interest there is, how serious it is, and then decide if there's a town meeting to vote on releasing those funds. But there's a few steps to it. That's all in the protocol. But your board has a pretty important role along the way. So I would like to make sure that you guys understand the protocol, that, if there's anything that needs to be made clearer, I'm open to suggestions, feedback. This needs to kind of work for all of us and be practical.
It looks pretty comprehensive to me. Marissa, I did get a chance to look through it. I think you have everyone included that needs to be included, for sure. It looks like pretty much all the bases are covered as far as what needs to be taken care of and by whom.
Yeah, I think as a recipient of the notifications from town hall, it's a very manual process right now. And I would love to see some sort of automation so that when a property comes in, I believe it goes through the select board's office, that they could just go into a system and automatically the boards get something electronically sent to them, as opposed to email traffic going back and forth. And I know that's not part of what you're presenting here. But I think that might take that another step.
Yeah. You're talking about streamlining town government.
Yes, it can happen.
Okay. I think we've had this discussion as well
Yes.
before. That would be wonderful. Yes, we will, totally, exactly.
What a world that would be. But yeah, no, I hear you loud and clear, Dave. And I mean, that's the hope. I think by just kind of bringing this up to the surface a little more and making sure that all the boards that do have a stake in this, according to Mass General Law, are informed within the right time frame, have the leeway to possibly work with other boards and commissions to create a dialogue as to whether there might be a few different interests, mutual interests served by trying to preserve a certain property. I mean, there's some properties that have a historical value, but also have a recreational value, or are historical and agricultural. And that's where there's room for kind of dialogue, but we all need to be on the same wavelength. When I went to the Historical Commission for the first time to pitch this to them a couple of months ago, they didn't even know that they were one of the boards that was eligible to kind of have say in this. And they said, what do you mean? What is right of first refusal? So it was kind of a matter of like starting from the ground up with them and explaining, you should be privy to this, and this is information that you are entitled to, and you do have some decision-making power in this. And if you decide you don't want to go for a property, that's fine, but it's just a matter of getting everybody on the same page. And once people are on the same page, I think, you can build systems for automation and make everyone's life easier. So
Yeah, this might be one of those things that we can think of maybe streamlining an application for, since it'd be for a similar use for each time that we have a right of first refusal come in, if that way it could be moved through a little bit more quickly in fairness to the landowner and people in the town. I think
hundred and twenty days is not that long.
it's not that
When
long,
you're trying to go and procure a big piece of property.
right? And I think we ran into this problem either last year or a few years ago on
We
Fort
did,
Vining.
yeah.
And we just didn't have the funds and didn't have the time to look into getting the funds. So I think if we have an application that's streamlined, it can just, we can just hold a meeting and go with it. And if the town wants to hold a special town meeting, that we
Right.
could pass it through a special town meeting, you know, a lot of times the landowner will hold on to that land depending on how long it takes. But if you can make it quicker for them,
Right, exactly. And the idea is if we all kind of get our pieces in line earlier on in the game, even if we may not be able to procure the funds exactly within the 120 days, I think if we were to show that we all do have the same information, we're all kind of deciding with one brain, it shows the landowner that there's a real willingness and seriousness on behalf of the town to pursue this. And you know, that's where there's room for negotiation to possibly extend the 120 days. That at that point becomes a one-on-one negotiation with the landowner, their attorney, and the town. But the state does give us that 120 days, but you know, obviously there's potential beyond that. And the idea with this protocol, a few boards have questions, why are you doing it? Isn't this already, you know, like, or, you know, kind of happening? Yeah, it is happening, but it's not happening uniformly across town hall. And on top of that, it's Massachusetts general law. So this is just codifying, I guess, a workflow so that we're in compliance with the law. So for, you know, a couple of folks that have said we may not want to do this, it's not kind of a matter of that. It's a matter of just upholding the state law. And several communities in the Commonwealth have developed protocols, and this protocol, on top of being developed with the rubric that Chairman Pratt and Dennis Clark developed years ago, it was also developed with the protocols of other communities in Western Massachusetts that were more up to date and kind of gave some additional tips, you know. So, and for the record as well, I've alerted the Attorney General's office in Boston that we are in the process of this, and they'd be interested to know that if this did get passed by the select board, they just want to be informed. Again, we are all, as communities in Massachusetts, supposed to be upholding the state laws, but they're just curious to know who has a protocol in place, just to kind of see if those communities are adhering to the law a little bit more easily, more diligently. So hopefully that puts some people's concerns to ease if they're worried about adding additional regulation. This is already what we're supposed to be doing. So,
and this is proactive instead of reactive. Usually we are all reacting and running around like chickens with our heads cut off. So I think this puts something into place where it shows we're organized and ready to move on something if we so choose. So
exactly.
I appreciate this work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions or comments for Marissa? No?
I think when we get down to the conversation about Concom representation, for more finding, you'll get into it a little bit more.
Okay, yeah. Very good. Well, thank you very much, Marissa, for all of your work. Like I said, very well appreciated. And moving forward, I hope.
Yeah, thank you so much. So if the board doesn't have any further feedback or comment, I'd be looking to get some sort of endorsement from your committee that, you know, you've reviewed this, that it sounds appropriate. Obviously, it is still subject to change because ultimately it does need to go to the select board, and there's a chance that it, you know, town council may want to review it and just make sure that everything on there does line up with what's up to date with MGL. So I might be back to darken your doorway, but in the meantime, it would be really helpful to know that, your commission has kind of reviewed it, endorsed it, and I can take that forward when I meet with the select board and say, this is another entity, within town hall that kind of has approved it. So would your committee be willing to offer that this evening, or would you like more time to deliberate on it for another meeting in the future, or?
Make it official.
Yeah, we'll do a vote now to endorse this chapter 61 right of first refusal request document.
You need a motion?
We'll take a motion.
Yeah, Dave will make a motion to endorse it.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're unanimous. So we officially endorse this procedure for handling Mass General Law 6161A and 61B, rate for first refusal requests.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And if I do have any updates subsequent to the meeting with the select board, I'll make sure to update your committee with the most, up-to-date version of what gets approved. So thank you very much for your time
Thank you.
and your endorsement.
Yeah, thanks for your work. Okay. Okay, we have many members to discuss and responsibly rescind previous vote to return preservation historic funds phase 1 and phase 2. That was for the documents,
Historic
documents, and I believe we have Michelle Hill here tonight to speak to that. Good evening, Michelle.
Good evening, Chris and the board. How you guys doing tonight? Thank you for having me. I was just giving you just a quick background. It appears that I think maybe the members don't know the history behind it because it is kind of a old project per se. I can't remember the exact date, but it's been over 10 years since I went in and got monies from the town meeting in the realm of over $300,000. And what that did was preserved a lot of documents that were falling apart, books were falling apart. We were losing a lot of documents. They're on the, was it acid-free or non-acid-free paper that doesn't preserve properly. So we went through everything, and it's unfortunate, just to throw a little tidbit in there, we've had a fire and a flood over the years too. So the town of Southwood has already lost documents. So my goal was to preserve what we already had and didn't lose any more. So nonetheless, the main piece of the project has already been completed. What you see is the funds that are just basically left from the overall big project, and hopes to, if anything is brought to me, to preserve those items. And I've had things over the years, like a piece of paper here, a piece of paper there, but with anything else, the more you have, the little bit monetary wise, it's better to do. So I've actually I have a whole little corner in my office now where I have a lot of things that have been turned over to me within town hall that needs to be preserved. So I just, like I said, over the years, I wanted to have a little bit more than just a piece of paper here and there to use up the rest of the funds. So that's what the intent was. There has been a big gap between the last time I've used those funds until now. So I'm just asking if it's all possible, if I can continue to carry it forward for a little bit longer so I can finish out any of these items that have been brought forth to me.
Michelle, like I said, I've been 10 years, so that's the reason we decided to look back at that and rescind it in the first place. We probably should check with you to see the if there was any more need before we did that. And I'm certainly willing tonight to have a vote to rescind that if the committee deems Lee has been in here or is still here and has spoken from the historic perspective of that those documents are historic and should be preserved. So that's part of this process. So that was good to have him come so we can
Absolutely.
expedite this So I would like to make a motion, that we,
Rescind our
rescind
decision.
our decision to take back the funds from the, historical documents.
Nothing labeled top secret, Aaron.
No, I don't know, that, everything here is, nothing's top secret anymore in town hall, so. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay,
Whoa.
2 seconds,
Who wants to
which
second
means we have a
it?
fourth.
Are you sure?
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, and you are good.
Thank
Start
you,
preserve-
everyone. I will move
Okay.
forward over the next course of the next couple months and get those things reserved.
Yes, we're gonna be looking at timeframes as well, as far as how long funds can be used for instead of being tied up, so that they get returned. And if something happens where you need more money or something happens later down the line, you can always reapply.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right,
Have a good evening.
yep, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion with Concom representative in regards to possible land acquisition on Mort Vining Road, which is what David was alluding to just a moment ago.
Right on. So following up on the conversation that Marissa just had regarding chapter 61. And the time frame of 120 days. Marissa and I are working on the master plan chapter on open space and natural resources, and we've had a lot of conversations about chapter 61. And one of the ways to elongate that 120 days is to get ahead of it, right? Start having conversations with landowners before they look to pick their properties, take them out of chapter 61, so that we can have a plan in place to actually go ahead and move forward with the acquisition of these once they make the decision to get rid of the property. And right now, there is a piece of property up off of Mort Vining Road, the Greg Yar property, which has approximately 89 acres.
And that's right on the corner, against the wetlands in the back, right?
So there's two parcels. There's a piece that has frontage right on Mort Vining, and there's another parcel of land, and Sabrina has a map,
Well, thank you, Sabrina.
in the back that has no frontage, but does abut Sokonoski, right?
Yeah.
So, there's been conversations with the owner about possibly securing that land if it comes off of chapter 61. Again, we do want to get ahead of it. We feel from a conservation standpoint, one of the reasons that this is a valuable piece of property is because it helps to create a wildlife corridor, which is really what we're trying to do when we're looking long-term at acquisition, is how do we not get individual parcels, but how do we string together parcels that allow a natural wildlife corridor? And this kind of abuts up towards Granby, it butts up towards Sodom Mountain. There's just a lot of property around there that this would only help to enhance that wildlife corridor. So he's invited us to go out and take a tour of the property, get a sense of what we think about the value to the community. But again, we're just trying to get ahead of it, talking to CPC, talking to other boards and committees in town, so that, you know, should he decide to pull the trigger, we've kind of already got in our minds what we want to do. Right? So there's grant monies that are available. If we go ahead and use this, Sabrina, you could probably give a bit more detail on the grant side of it, because you did the research on that.
I know a little bit about it. It's the land grant. I think we've used it in the past, the equivalent to actually purchase the Sofinowski property.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, so I think what would happen is through using CPC funds, if we purchase the property, we have the opportunity to apply for this grant and they will reimburse us. What was the numbers?
It was 52 to 70%.
52 to 70%, not to exceed $500,000. So there is a chance that we could get, you know, a 50% discount essentially on this property.
So I think the plan is, you know, we're gonna try and schedule a tour with the property owner. Certainly extend an invitation to not only the CPC, but AgCom and other groups within town hall as well. come out and tour the property,
Mhm.
so that everybody has a sense of, what might become available to the town. But in the spirit of, again, of elongating that 120 days, we just wanted, from a conservation standpoint, give you folks an idea before it may actually become a reality.
Very good, David.
So I have a question. So if an acre's going for $100,000 in town. And he's got 89 acres. Effectively, you could say it's worth $890,000. And our max is 500, where would the other 490 come
Well, the
from?
reimbursement would be 500. That's what we can get back from the, I don't know what they call it now, the EOEA grant, Department of Environmental
Okay.
Management
So-
would give us that much if we first funded it with CPA funding.
So if
So
we
we've
were,
got-
if we were to, so I'm throwing numbers out there
Yep.
because I want to make sure that everybody understands us. So if we wanted to spend $700,000 on the property, we could get reimbursed up to not exceeding $500,000, even though we kicked in the other 200,000.
Correct, but we wouldn't, I mean, we wouldn't get 500, we get up to like 50 to 70%.
Got it. Okay.
Which actually.
So
might
it's
be-
Which could be
700,000,
500,000 depending on the
350 to
price.
500.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay, I
Okay,
feel understood.
All right. thank you.
Yeah.
So this property is listed on Zillow right now. It's been listed for a while. I think these two, because he's listing all, he would like to sell all three properties, including the one where his house and the horse
Stables.
stables
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
If he were to sell all three, he's looking for 1.1 million. That's what he's looking for. I
I'm
think
sorry, what's the number?
1.1 million, I think, on Zillow. The two, I do believe that these two properties that I've listed right here, it's 450,000. However, because it's CPC funds, we can only offer the assessed value, so we would need to assess the property and whatever value that we get, that's our offer to him.
right.
He can
Got it.
refuse it if he wants to, I believe.
Mhm.
So
And we can do the assessment through the administrative first, correct?
I
Correct.
think so.
You just can't get paid for the next year.
I know, you guys will lose me. Some things to note about these two parcels, aside from the fact that they do abut Sofinowski, is that there are some streams, some wooded marsh wetlands here. It is part of a priority habitat for rare species. This particular species, does not like habitat fragmentation. It does not like roads. It could wreak havoc if it loses up to one of its population down the road. It's a slow multiplier. I don't think I'm allowed to say what type of,
No, because
species
people
it
go
is.
out and hunt it down, and get rid of
right,
it.
so that's why
Thank
I'm
you.
not saying it now. I do know
Sasquatch.
what it
Was
is,
that Sasquatch? Yes, it was.
right?
Snuffle up against.
Yeah.
A unicorn.
There has been some people who have hunted on this property in the past, continues to hunt on this property. Their concern would be if it would be huntable down the road. What if and when we purchase it, I said that would be a conversation that we have later. Right now, we're
Mhm.
just trying to figure out, is this something that the town wants to actually move forward with?
Yeah. Anyway, can happen.
Yep.
I prefer hunting allowable myself, but that's not up to
That's
me.
all on the conservation.
It would be a little precarious because Sofinowski, you're not allowed to hunt.
Yeah, but they hunt there now. so
They
know.
do hunt there now,
Yeah.
so like, we would definitely have to put a lot of signage
Mhm.
right along the boundary,
Yep.
so. Yep,
While we're talking about land conservation, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to
Sure.
let everybody
I
know.
like that part.
That, the sale went through
Uh,
for the property on North Long Yard. So the Department of, National Parks Department did buy the property and it has closed.
Well. Very cool.
this is the property right next, along that NEP trail, living down that comment trail.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
Good.
One more piece of the puzzle. Okay,
So are we gonna keep this on the agenda for the next few months as something that talk about? There's updates or?
no, there's no application.
Needed kind of thing?
Yeah, this is just an informational kind of piece that goes along with, what Marissa had been talking
Yeah.
about, so that kind of
Would anybody
tailored it
here,
nicely to that.
when I set up the site visit, would anybody here want to be included on that?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay,
You can invite everybody and not
Yeah.
everybody has to come.
that's true. I'm
Yeah.
even inviting people now. Like, that just makes it more complicated.
Exactly.
Everyone's invited.
Uh-huh. Okay, review and sign contracts.
All right. So I did something new this year. I made contracts not just for out-of-house projects, but also in-house projects. It would be for the projects that were approved in our town meeting. So you guys all have a copy of them. Go ahead and have a look. Let me know what you think, if you like it. It would be nice to get Chris's
Yeah.
signature on all of them to get the ball rolling. Because we already have one project where they have bids. They've chosen the person to do the work, or the company to do the work.
And it's the letter in our folder.
Yes,
Could be.
that's the next on the
Yeah,
agenda, I
yeah.
think. Yep.
I think this formalizes everything. These are the ones you sent me as a name, right?
Mm-hmm,
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 mm-hmm. I read them and everything.
good.
It's rainy day.
And then a little coffee, maybe light a candle,
Netflix.
Netflix.
I did have a chance to read through these, and I think what this does is it formalizes the application, and not just the application, but the project.
Where'd you get the format of the?
Puts on notice.
The out-of-house one, we already had a format, so I just basically copied that, took some things out that maybe weren't applicable. And the other one, I think I just Googled some contracts, took some things from the out-of-house, I just meshed things up. Something that Chris kind of touched on a little bit when talking to Michelle Hill is kind of making sure that people are using their funds in a timely manner. So included on the in-house contracts, which is just a page, is a time limit of 3 years with the ability to make amendments through writing.
Where is it?
Okay,
That way they can extend if they wish.
yeah,
Okay.
But they have to tell us why they need to extend,
yep.
give us information, and
So under 2B, it does mention the 3 years. And then the amendment is mentioned in number 7. Or is number 7. Amendment in writing.
I like that.
but I would like to make sure that the money that goes out is used for its intended purposes. Sometimes if things sit in an account somewhere, and people say, oh, I still have money in that account, even though they finished their project, they'll go and get that money and use it for something that wasn't intended for. So I want to make sure that it's used for its intended purposes as well.
It also holds up funds as well. For potential projects.
Yes, Lee. I'm sorry, I didn't have you state your name and address before the formalities. Could you do that for us? I'm sorry.
Lee Hamburg, 48 South Lanier Road. I would like to know whether you have a contract written up for the South Historical Society for the Morehouse project.
Yes, there is one here, but we didn't sign it yet, so you didn't get it yet.
Okay, that explains it.
Okay, that's what we're doing right now. We're deciding on whether to give them out or not give them out. Because this is something new that we haven't really done for in-house.
Okay,
They're considered
Projects.
out of house
Oh, are they?
Mhm.
Because there's society,
society.
not committee. Yeah. I get confused with those two. Okay. That's why. These are all pretty much, I would say, fairly boilerplate, the same, same language, same terms, same agreement, basically just outlining the project.
Feeling for a motion.
I would like to, I take a motion when people are ready.
Minor administrative edit, I think,
Sure.
on the one for the plaques and the one for the cupola. Police station, the last sentence of the second paragraph. Has amount of repeated.
You don't like that? Not low, not low.
Amount of amount.
Not about, that might be. a
Otherwise,
typo.
So that was the,
let's see, the cemetery plaques. And. Sure. Police department. Police department, yep.
Also the, Great Park,
Are they all the same?
they
No.
might be,
No,
the
the
one.
I would think
for-
they would be.
the trees for the cemetery look okay.
Yeah,
really? That's weird.
All right.
But yeah, it is.
Okay, all right. So other than that, does anybody see anything that they'd like to amend or discuss?
It's the parking recreation line. No, it's cemetery line. Oh, I see it here.
I'd like to see one of these get started, so we can look at a possible new sign.
Right?
Yes,
Where are they? We don't know. Son put them somewhere.
Something else.
he knows.
Son knows something.
We'll find him, hunt him down. Okay, I'll take a motion on our grant agreements for the projects that we just passed at town meeting.
Dave Spina, so move.
Chris Pratt, second. Oh, sorry, Jeannie, I win. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Passes unanimously. Oh, you know what?
I like blue pen.
Well, you're supposed to, so that's why it's copied.
Exactly.
That one
That's
looks
why
like it's copied.
that's why I changed the blue pen. I can't tell what's about. Is this real?
I know,
Or like,
right?
is this the original? Is it not the original? Like, that's why I have different color pens. For people to sign.
So how you track changes?
Hmm,
You like a track changes?
Mm,
they're
they're purple.
yes. So do you think these should go to the select board next? Or have the applicants sign it next?
I think the select board first and then the
Okay.
applicant. That way they see that everybody's on board here. They have to do what they need to do, their due diligence.
I'll try to get on the agenda.
Alright. I will just initial that first one, that's black. Wasn't it? You didn't order. Okay.
In order by article number, please.
Maybe it messed them up. Okay. I can straighten them up for you. All right, moving on.
Ooh, can I have my pen, please?
No. I like this.
I like that one.
Okay. Old Cemetery Project Bid Award. We have that project bid.
Yeah, you know, a copy of it.
Submitted by Gene Throw and Lisa Anderson.
I'm not sure if there needs to be a vote for this. I think this is purely just acknowledgement.
This is just information.
Yeah, just so you guys know.
No, we're not.
that-
It's not for us to decide.
No, I think it's the select board. Carl said, I think it was gonna be on the next meeting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the town usually uses Northern Tree Service. And you can see by the bid numbers, why.
With big gaps.
Okay. Okay, old business, we're moving into our yearly calendar,
Not sure if we wanted to do that.
looks wide open.
Yep.
I think
Yeah.
we'll leave it that way for right
We
now.
don't do anything.
We're gonna leave it like that until there's a purpose. We do have, some meeting minutes. Anybody have a chance to look those over, maybe?
first-
April should
first
just
bullet
be
piece.
approved. We did nothing.
I like that one.
Are there any spelling mistakes? Any conjugation mistakes? I see nothing. I'll take a motion. Anybody's comfortable?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of March 15th, 2023 and April 19th, 2023.
I second.
All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Unanimous. It's coming around. Look at please.
Mhm.
Do we have any mail, Sabrina?
Well, we did have some mail about the Southwick fireworks,
No,
but
Too
that was
late.
this past weekend,
they were awesome.
were they?
We used to say that. We voted on. You put them together, in the same motion. He's like expediting our situation. Oh, you, yeah,
Then don't sign.
and don't sign it, and just pass it around. But if, so as far as our meeting minutes go, you can weigh in on punctuation, spelling, things like that, grammar. When we're doing our editing, but not on the content, and you shouldn't be signing it.
Right. David, take it, though. It's so small.
Fair, Okay. Thank you. That's okay. They're not real minutes. All right. There you go. Okay, application forms, we're gonna talk about, our online application. I think we may just go with what we have and try to work out the bugs as we go along. I know that our boxes will fill, but when we go to print, we won't see everything that's filled the boxes unless we scroll and print, scroll and print, scroll and print, probably, right?
Actually, don't know how that looks.
I think whatever shows in the
Whatever you have
boxes is what we'll print.
visible?
Yeah,
Okay.
I
It's
believe
like a
so.
print screen
Yeah,
almost.
yeah.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. But
Never tried it?
anyways, we'll get an electronic copy.
Yeah.
But as far as our paper copies go, we might have to go into that and have that be a separate document. Link to a separate document where we can just print that one box or fill in spot. So we'll work on that as we go along, but at least we'll be able to get the information from our online the way it is. We'll try to work those bugs out.
I may go in and try and put in an application just to see what happens.
You wanna do that? So we'll put that off into our next meeting. Let's play around with it, fill out some, send them in. Sabrina, you can give those to us online,
And
or
then
give
just
it,
try and print one.
and then we'll try to fill one out,
So
do a
is
dry
it-
run.
is this a PDF format that's been fillable? Do we have that
I
or
did one, I remember,
did
I
one?
did one document at least.
No, we need it to be,
I don't know how many there are, if there's more than one.
otherwise
As like a test.
we're gonna be changing everybody else's stuff. That's another thing we need to fill out, so.
So the new application, should I send that over to Dave so he can make all of it, Dave Spina,
Mhm.
so he can make all of it fillable? And then he can send that to me and I can maybe
That would be-
shoot it out to you guys
Sure.
to
Fine,
to
I
play
great.
with.
Other
Yeah,
characters.
everybody think of a project, quick,
don't think so.
create your own
You
project.
can set a character, but I don't
Right.
think there's any inherent character.
But I know
Sort of like,
sometimes when you
left
do an
left.
online form,
Well-
the box is confined, so you can't, as you expand, right, the box doesn't expand.
Correct,
This
but so-
box expand, it won't.
No.
No, so what happens is if your box may be 500,
But you're only seeing.
But you're only seeing
200.
5 lines.
right?
Hmm.
So it behooves us to make big boxes kind of, but
Be succinct, people.
Anybody wants to work problem solve that? Feel free.
Hmm.
There's got to be a way.
Yes.
I'm sure there's figure this out, but- Okay,
We need a 15 of that.
I have a question.
Yes,
that
ma'am.
Maybe you guys have an answer to. So we finally got this April finance report.
mhm,
So according to Stewart's reports, we got $353,289 in 2023. It's split between November 30th and January 6th. They do add up to that number.
mhm.
Why does the statement or I'm saying now, why do they give us the funds in 2 chunks?
I believe they do two different things. do their, registry of deeds things 2 different times a year, I believe.
Yeah, because it was,
Because you
it
don't get
was
the same
simply,
percentage.
like 28 days apart, sorry, 38 days apart. So it just looks funny.
Yeah,
And whatever, I don't care if that's the way the state does it, that's fine. And then I'm looking at the totals on the amounts. So for example, the alum treatment, we approved 80, but it says 32. Is that what's left that we
So-
haven't spent, or is that what's left that's due? Are these due amounts or are these?
I think they're.
that's what's
balances.
left, the balance, yeah.
Cause I think finance only is concerned with balances and what's in there,
Right.
not what's already been expended. I mean, they may keep track of that, but when you're looking at this, I would imagine it's only balances.
Mhm.
That just seems to make sense.
Okay. Because it doesn't say that, so if,
Right.
you know, when somebody asks us,
Well, but it does say ending balance.
right, but it doesn't say balance due or balance not spent.
Right, okay, yeah, I get it. It's just how it's worded.
Yeah, we could ask for a different heading on the top of that, make it clearer.
I copied what she gave me.
No, I'm.
Like,
We're
I
not-
don't- you
we're
know,
not-
And I made
Moving
sure, cause I'm
around.
like, I think, yeah, I'm just gonna copy what she
Right,
wrote.
okay.
You have this electronically?
Share
Electronically.
throughout
If everybody else would like, an email,
Committee.
I would like.
an email online version.
Mhm. And you can update what's on the website with
Yeah.
those balances that are there, please, or have it updated. Whatever you do. Okay. I don't see anything else on the agenda. Anybody have anything else they'd like to discuss?
Calendar?
We already did that one.
You said me.
There's nothing really to put on the calendar, and we'll schedule as we need to.
Yep.
No sense
Starting
in
the third Wednesday of the month.
having people just show up to approve minutes. We came and approved minutes. Now we have to come back and approve what we approved last time.
So I look at, we just did this public outreach, right?
Mhm.
And, you know, it was well attended, thank you for coming.
Yes.
But I also look at some of these committees in town that have some pretty large balances in front of them. I'm looking at like housing, and do we need to take the show on the road? Do we need to go to their meeting and start having these conversations, right?
Mhm.
And you know, Lee's here from the historic side of thing, but would it benefit your committee to have?
I'm a member of the Historical Society.
Oh, okay,
I'm not on the commission.
okay,
I did, you know, email, Kurt and Mark, although I know they were both probably attending Southwick Rec Center committee meeting,
Yeah.
which was also tonight.
Yeah,
but
I'm
you
sure
know,
Mark was there for sure.
I'm just wondering if we need to actually go out and sit down and get these people understanding
Well-
what's
Well,
available.
where are we at with, as far as the master plan stuff too, though, isn't there gonna be some things that can come down the pipe with that?
So. Do you want to update master plan?
Feel free.
Nobody wants to say.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, so we're at the point right now where all the surveys are done, all the public engagement is done. We have had draft chapters written up by Pioneer Valley Planning. We have divvied up the chapters amongst the members of the committees. There's 8 chapters and we're writing those chapters. So what the chapters basically are going to have is there's gonna be some just boilerplate information about the town as it pertains to, and I can only speak to open space and natural resources, right? How many, just details about the town, right? Most of it came from our open space plan. But then there's gonna be strategies, and action plans on where to take the town for the next 20 years. But that doesn't necessarily address the here and now, right? So the master plan is looking ahead 20 years or the interim between now and 20 years. I'm just looking at some of these numbers and I'm thinking there's here and now issues that might be able to be solved if people had a better understanding of how to utilize the funds. And sometimes, you know, the mountain has to go to Muhammad.
Sometimes. It's like person Gail.
I have tracked down the chair of the housing authority for a meeting on Tuesday. Here. If one of you would like to join me, I don't know. You're welcome to join me. It's going to be on Tuesday.
I would volunteer to
That's a
make
possibility.
that meeting.
Sure. I think I have that open.
In this room or
I
just let you
don't know. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I have to confirm where.
Super.
when was that?
Tuesday, 10.
Tuesday is going to be that.
Is it that late in the year? Summer's going by too quickly.
That's because we've been living in Seattle.
Yeah, that is also true. Mhm. Seattle and LA with the smoke.
Because it's actually one of the topics that- I mean, you would be into that?
Yeah, and there was some stuff that came out regarding CPC putting emphasis particularly on housing and how most communities aren't meeting the mandate of 10%. I think they were throwing around
It's a
like,
recommendation of.
well, regardless, they're looking for ways to get more and more money allocated towards housing, right? It just, it doesn't seem to be getting utilized to the point where they're like, if there's communities that are using it, giving them more money for their budgets for housing, then.
Because of the need.
Right. And again, as a town, we don't have a huge need, but I'm sure there's stuff that we can do.
Well, like I read earlier, you can use it for creating and supporting.
Yeah.
So those are two ways in which we haven't utilized.
Yeah, maybe we
CPA
need to
funding.
explain that.
Yeah.
You know.
Creating is pretty expensive.
Right, and I did talk to Mark Rankin on the committee, historic committee, about getting someone to come to our meetings from historic. I mean, Lee's been always coming to our meetings from the society, but the committee, we've had trouble with, and I guess our representative, from the committee for historic to CPC hasn't been going to the historic committee meetings either, so I've talked to Mark about getting someone else to join us.
We did with the master plan, there were people that weren't showing up. And we just voted them out.
Yeah, right, the committee, their committee has to do that, so if we
Yes.
could go to that committee, that would be our responsibility, I would say, to go to the committee.
We're appointed.
Right, they're board appointed, so we would go to their committee and, you know, give them the feedback that we would like you to have some representation. Maybe pick someone else. So. All right. Wait for a motion. Anybody has anything on?
Motion to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Any opposed? Good night, everyone.
Night, everyone.